Today at 6, a special report from inside Kharkiv on the front line with the Ukrainian army. We're with Ukrainian forces fighting to defend Kharkiv from Russia's relentless assault.
And if these tactics are unfamiliar to you, then you haven't been paying attention, because this is the Russian attack playbook, perfected in over 10 years of war in Syria.
More than 2 million people are now said to have fled the capital, Kyiv, as others arrive, forced to flee Russian soldiers moving ever closer to the city.
No words, nothing. They were mute. They stayed like stones with guns.
And also on tonight's extended programme. Roman Abramovich, the Russian owner of Chelsea Football Club, is among 7 more oligarchs sanctioned by the British government. The sale of the club is now on hold. A change in visa rules. The government says from next week it will be easier for some Ukrainian people to come to the UK. And as the war in Ukraine fuels inflation, average petrol prices are at their highest ever level, again hitting the cost of living.
Sanctions against Abramovich, a day of reckoning for the oligarch and 6 others as the government tightens the squeeze on the Russian super-rich. The multi-billionaire has had his UK assets frozen, including his most precious status symbol, Chelsea Football Club.
I think people in this country can see that people connected to the Putin regime need to be sanctioned, and that's what we're doing.
Well, it is the clearest sign yet of the UK's determination to clamp down on dirty Russian money, but it doesn't slow the onslaught in Ukraine. Burying their dead, mass graves in Mariupol after days of merciless bombardment. At 7, stories at the station, the families torn apart by the bitter reality of war.
Keep yourself safe and please come back.
Good evening. The government has taken its most decisive action yet against allies of President Putin, sanctioning 7 oligarchs, including Roman Abramovich. The billionaire Chelsea owner was found by the government to have been involved in destabilising Ukraine. It said a firm he owns may have supplied steel for Russian military tanks. Abramovich's financial assets have been frozen. He cannot make any transactions here, and he's also subject to a travel ban, meaning he cannot come to the UK. Well, the implications are serious for him, but also for his football club and indeed its fans. Chelsea can no longer sell shirts and other merchandise, and away fans are banned at Stamford Bridge. Now, the city of Mariupol has come under sustained bombardment from Russian forces a day after the shocking attack on a maternity hospital there. Now, that airstrike is now thought to have killed 3 people, including a 6-year-old child. Ukraine's president called it genocide. Russia's foreign minister somehow claimed it was all a valid military target. But there has been no let-up for the hundreds of thousands of civilians trapped inside Mariupol, and Russian forces will not let them leave. Our correspondent Dan Rivers reports.
Mariupol's siege is now a city-wide atrocity. Russia continues to dangle the possibility of a humanitarian corridor to its trapped residents, while it continues to drop bombs and missiles on them night and day. Today, a building where the emergency services operate was hit. Whether deliberate or indiscriminate, the results are the same. Ambulance and fire crews are now hindered from saving others in a city slowly descending into hell. Water, gas and electricity have been cut off for days. 2 weeks ago, this was a thriving city with trendy bars. Now its people are only just surviving.
We have no drinking water. It's about 10 to 12 degrees centigrade in our flats. We have no gas, we are freezing. We have no food, men loot here. Trees are being cut down, bodies are being buried in the yards of the apartment blocks. It is so scary, we can't live like this.
The dead are being buried in mass graves, some recovered after lying in the streets for days.
Police officer reported that we have 1,207 killed people, and this is just bodies on the street. We're collecting the bodies and put them to mass grave because it's impossible to put them to private graves at the moment. But I think the numbers are much more, 3 or 4 times more. We don't know, it's just bodies on the street.
A Red Cross team inside Mariupol paints a picture of the bleakest conditions imaginable.
People started to attack each other for food. People started to ruin someone's car to take the gathering out. The people are getting sick already because of the cold. It's unavoidable.
Talks between Russia and Ukraine, hosted by Turkey, have failed to result in any significant breakthrough. Russia's foreign minister justified the attack on a maternity hospital yesterday, claiming it was being used as a base by Ukrainian fighters. Ukraine's president has again condemned the cruelty of Russia's tactics.
Російські війська вже створили гуманітарну катастрофу в Україні, але це для них частина плану. Вони хочуть принизити наших людей, щоб вони на колінах брали хліб і воду з рук окупантів.
The people of Mariupol are being shown no mercy. Buses with aid travelling down this road have been stopped from getting through, and civilians are being prevented from leaving. And now the weather has turned for the worst. This humanitarian lifeline is being tied in knots by the intransigence of Russia, which seems determined to prolong the suffering of an entire city. Dan Rivers, ITV News, Eastern Ukraine.
ITV News has seen evidence of how Russian forces are getting ever closer to their key target, and that is, of course, the capital, Kyiv. Now, this is the current situation on the ground, with the areas already under Russian control shown in red there. Its forces continue to advance across the country, and around Kyiv itself there is tonight something of a pincer movement west and east of the capital. And we've got pictures of the military build-up in the suburb of Brovary, barely 10 miles from the centre of the city, to where our global security editor, Rohit Kachru, travelled for this report.
We're heading out of Kyiv. We're on the road east towards a small commuter town called Brovary. We go as far as we can.
We're not allowed to go in there.
No, good.
He's turning us.
That's fine. And here's why we were stopped. Footage from the Ukrainian military appears to show multiple attacks half a mile down the road. As a Russian column was hit, a voice says, "We were ambushed. The commander was killed." Nearby, we saw a warehouse destroyed. This damage was done earlier in the week, but it was still smouldering this morning. Follow the path to the main road, and we found an unexploded missile lodged in the ground, and another small industrial town which the Russian army is struggling to take. We've heard the distant rumble of artillery, the Russian troops not far away now, and just over here, the city limits of the capital, Kyiv. From inside the besieged town, a mother told us how she's trying to escape with her disabled son.
12 дней провела просто ночью в подвале. Вот, и сейчас вынуждена со своим сыном оставить свой дом и ехать на Западную Украину.
These pictures were filmed in the same area 2 days ago and were obtained by ITV News. They appear to show Russian soldiers hiding away in Ukrainian homes. There are 6 of them here. At the top of the picture, one soldier smoking a cigarette then picks up his rifle, while closer to the van, another 2 dig into the icy ground. Nearby is a tank parked up close to the deserted road. You can see the letter O painted close to the front of it, identifying it as a Russian vehicle. This is an obvious avenue towards the capital, the greatest prize of this conflict. But Russian forces are being repelled here to the east of the city. So the battle for Kyiv may be long and bloody. Rohit Kachru, ITV News, Brovary.
Well, our reporter James Mates joins us now live from Kiev. Now, James, the two foreign ministers, Ukraine and Russia, met today for the first time since the invasion. Absolutely no agreement, no common ground, it seemed. But are there any positives to take from that meeting?
No, really, the only positive is that they were prepared to meet each other. The Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov basically offered terms to the Ukrainians that would amount to their surrender, the dismemberment of their country, the demilitarization, being left as a rump, unable to move from Moscow's orbit, and there's absolutely no way, given the situation on the battlefield, that the Ukrainians are going to accept that. I mean, peace normally comes in these situations when at least one side, often both, believe that they've won everything they can on the battlefield. And as this war enters its third week, we're a very long way from that position. But the really striking thing about Lavrov's appearance today was the callousness with which he treated the humanitarian situation. The global outcry about the bombing of that maternity hospital he referred to as pathetic complaints, and insisted that there were really soldiers in there, not women and babies. When asked for a 24-hour humanitarian corridor to get aid in and people out, he said, well, he'd think about it. It does look as if this is by strategy, not by accident.
James Mates in Kiev, thank you.
A giant puppet of a refugee girl which walked from Syria to the UK last year to raise awareness about the plight of child refugees will lay flowers outside the Ukrainian embassy later. Known as Little Amal, the puppet travelled 5,000 miles across 8 countries. Her special appearance tonight will be in support of Ukrainian refugees.